Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Portnox. We're just going to take one quick minute to get a few more people in, and we will commence the webinar shortly. All right, let's kick things off. In this session, we'll discuss how you can future-proof your organization's security stack and strengthen your network security posture with cloud-native network access control, or NAC. My name is Mike Marvin. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Portnox. I'll be hosting today's webinar. I'm joined by my colleagues, Jeremy Morrill, our Vice President of Product Management, and Carlos Atilni, our Vice President of Architecture. Please feel free to post questions in the questions section on the right hand of your screen throughout today's session. We'll address them at the end during a Q&A. As I'm sure many of you on this webinar have experienced in some form, it's a bit of a perfect storm out there for IT teams when it comes to security. BYOD, increased workforce mobility, reliance on enterprise cloud apps, limited IT headcount, and increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks are all combining to leave IT's work cut out for them when it comes to solidifying corporate security postures. Access to everything from everywhere all the time has changed the security dynamic. The emergence of software-defined WAN, or SD-WAN, is in response to rising cloud adoption, and it's significant because it promises to deliver reduced cost and enhanced performance and availability. Today, organizations can leverage SD-WAN technology to implement software-defined branch, or SD branch, as a way of extending IT environments to any of its branches outside of its headquarters that require high-quality network connectivity. As the network edges expand far beyond the traditional perimeter of the physical office, companies are looking for new ways to secure network access effectively and efficiently. In the last 5 years, the rapid adoption of SD-WAN has given rise to new security concepts like software-defined perimeter, SDP, Zero Trust Network Access, ZTNA, and the fusion of networking and network security as a service in the Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE, which was coined just a few years ago by Gartner. So really the question is today, what's the best method for controlling network access and essentially future-proofing your security stack for the years to come? The answer remains network access control, or NAC. NAC is a technology that enables organizations to enact their own unique policies for how and when endpoints like desktops, laptops, printers, etc., can connect to their corporate networks. NAC solutions are designed to allow IT to gain visibility of each device trying to access its network, and specifically the type of device and access layer being used, such as wireless access points, wired ports and switches, or VPN. Today, NAC covers a number of additional use cases on top of this. These include endpoint security posture assessment and remediation, which pinpoints any associated risks to devices and automatically brings them back to a compliant, healthy state. NAC protects companies from insider threats, disgruntled employees, malicious guests or contractors. You get the gist. As we've highlighted, NAC is it's a critical component of your network security stack. But traditionally, the NAC options available to most companies, say those outside of maybe the Fortune 500, have been extremely complex to deploy and manage, and ultimately very cost prohibitive. And unless you have deep pockets to pay for professional services, it's not uncommon, at least in our experience, for many NAC deployments to fail or stall out, leaving companies continually reliant on unsecure methods for network authentication like pre-shared keys or passwords. What makes NAC so unappealing in its traditional sense? Well, for resource-constrained IT teams, the thought of installing and maintaining more networking hardware and on-prem software can be daunting, especially for something so critical to the company's security posture. You don't want to get it wrong. And unfortunately, buying traditional NAC software is kind of like buying a puppy. You buy it, you own it. And depending on how much you're actually worth to the vendor you buy it from, you may not get nearly the support you need to keep things running smoothly and ensure that you're keeping up with necessary maintenance along the way. Now, because deploying these legacy NAC systems can be such a bear, many organizations decide to take shortcuts. Instead, they focus on implementing solutions for just network authentication. Hey, if we can ditch PSKs, great, right? Well, not necessarily. In some ways, this mindset is understandable. There are some fairly easy to deploy, although fairly immature SaaS solutions for network authentication out there. The problem is, unfortunately, that this approach leaves you without proper access control or the ability to monitor ongoing endpoint risk post-authentication. Once the device is on, it's on. If it poses a risk, you're really not going to know about it. So, what should you do?
That's a great question. Well, the answer, it lies in the cloud. I think every one of you would agree, these days it seems like everything's migrating to the cloud, beginning with the migration of traditional on-prem Exchange or SharePoint servers to Office 365 or Google Workspace. Even business critical financial and CRM systems are finding their way to the cloud with solutions like Network and NetSuite and Salesforce. There's really no denying there's an explosive mass migration to the cloud underway, and that's equally true for IT security services as well. Whether that's due to the result of corporate policy mandates as a means of reducing soft costs or improving ROI, complying with ever stricter security regulations, or simply improving overall reliability and uptime, the increase in cloud adoption is only growing. Adoption of SaaS IT and security apps specifically have been growing at nearly 100% over the last 2 years. Not too surprising, this trend is expected to continue as the explosion in privacy regulations from things such as GDPR, CCPA, and others create new, stricter security compliance requirements. The benefits to IT are obvious. Accelerating deployment times and eliminating system maintenance frees your team to focus on other security priorities. And the money saved by eliminating professional services and not needing to renew hardware for a legacy on-prem NAC solution can be put to good use elsewhere in the environment. With 94% of businesses seeing a visible improvement in security after switching to the cloud, and 91% of those finding it easier to meet compliance requirements, it's clear that the move to a SaaS-based NAC solution is inevitable. And why not? It's simple to get started, nothing to download, nothing to install, no hardware or software or hardware requirements to meet, no OS or VM licenses to procure. The end result is a zero maintenance, vendor agnostic, infinitely scalable, powerful solution that provides complete visibility, control, and remediation capabilities for each and every endpoint connected to your network, regardless if they're connected wired, wirelessly, or if they're remotely connecting across a VPN. The posture assessment of every endpoint is assessed for risk before ever entering the network or given an IP address. So what exactly does a NAC solution look like in the cloud? Well, it includes securely encrypted radius services with anti-flood protection running in the cloud. Those radius services handle authentication of clients in the environment using 802.1x, MAB, or a web portal against a variety of supported identity services such as Active Directory, Azure AD, Google Workspace, Okta, to name only a few. Risk assessment policies then ensure that the device fully complies to your organization's requirements, such as ensuring antivirus is installed and running, that patches are applied, the machine is joined to a domain, and that no forbidden applications are installed. Those are just a few examples of the different types of risk policies you can apply. From there, we can dynamically assign a user to a specific VLAN or apply an access control list to their port to restrict inbound or outbound traffic to their device, exercising the principle of least privilege. If the device does not meet compliance requirements, you can place the device in a quarantine VLAN where perhaps the device only has access to tools to self-remediate, such as upgrading antivirus pattern definition files, receiving critical Windows updates, or other patches. Portnox NAC solution can even automatically remediate risk policy violations, such as uninstalling forbidden applications, disabling internet connection sharing, and re-enabling disabled security software, for example, while all maintaining full visibility and strict control over who has access to your network, including guest contractors and other visitors.
All right, so what does cloud native NAC look like? Basically, you're getting all the benefits that you know about other SaaS deployed software. Because we at Portnox are administrating the SaaS component of this, it's easy for you to deploy, scale, and manage. Because we are deployed in the cloud, we get scalability. So as you scale, we scale for you. So it doesn't matter how many devices you have, our cloud-based environment is able to scale up with you. It's easier for you to manage because we're managing it for you. Our DevOps professionals are able to make sure that the environment is available for you on your needs, and you do not need to perform any sort of upgrades or maintenance. It's all based off of a SaaS service that we're delivering to you. So the value is really that of many other SaaS services that you might be using. And because it's cloud-based as well, there's just one central deployment. There's no need for you to maintain multiple servers inside of your local environments, especially if you're distributed across multiple offices or around the world. Your one central location for managing your NAC is inside of the Portnox software, which allows you to just have one place to make sure everything is secure. We really are enforceable anywhere, anytime, and any device. We're able to use standards-based protocols to make sure that we are working with just about any sort of network that you can imagine, whether it's wired or wireless. If you have VPNs, we're able to make sure that every device that comes onto your network is the type of device that you want and that the users are authenticated on those devices properly. This allows you for faster detection of if there was somebody trying to access your network with a rogue device or somebody who's not able to get proper access. These types of NAC services allow you to quickly identify that sort of situation. So because we support any device that you have, we're able to get all of the information that you need for your security posture. Again, since we are working with a standards-based 802.1x, we're able to use any operating system that you can think of in order to make sure that all of your devices are covered. 802.1x is a standard inside of all of the most popular networking equipment, so it's really nothing for you to have to do other than enable it on your device and use those protocols in order to talk to our services. We integrate with Active Directory and other services that you might already have in order to make sure that you're not doing anything additional other than you would need to do for any other type of service. And so by our integrations into Azure and other things, we're able to make sure that you have everything that you need to run. And as new devices are added or new networking equipment is added, we do that for you because we're cloud deployed. We're able to make sure that we're up to date on everything. So again, really easy for you to maintain as we maintain the centralized deployment in our SaaS deployment. You get all the benefits of us making sure everything is up to date. So putting it all together, this is really what it looks like. So you've got all of your devices on your network. that are accessing the network through different wired and wireless devices. Those devices talk directly to your networking devices, and then through Radius talking to our cloud services, where we're able to talk to Okta, Google Workspace, Azure AD, and different integrations. So it's really quite a simple picture in order to give you that first layer of network security. It's really the bars on the windows, the bouncer at the door, just that first level of making sure that everything on your network is secure. And we do that centrally so that it's as easy to deploy and as simple to use for you as possible. So getting that real good network security with the most popular integrations that you need in the easiest to deploy method, in a way that will scale with you, in a way that is easy for you to maintain, and is a way for you to just make sure that you're always up to date in your security posture.
Thank you both. We can now take this time to answer any questions you guys may have as attendees. We do have a few here from the audience. There was a question about whether or not this is being recorded and will it be shared after the conclusion of the webinar. It will be. All attendees will receive an email with a link to the recording. You can also find it on our YouTube page. It will be published there before the end of the day today. A question for you, Jeremy, actually, that came through was asking if Portnox performs risk posture without an agent, or is it agent-based?
Yeah, so the answer is both. So you can, whatever your personal preference is, we have some customers who prefer to utilize agents in their environments, and others who are have an adverse reaction with the thought of adding yet another agent in their environment. So with Portnox SaaS-based NAC solution, we can support both scenarios, both our own agent, which we refer to as Agent P, or an agentless posture assessment method that we utilize information available to us through Microsoft Intune to assess the risk and compliance status of the device, and to dictate whether or not the device should be granted access onto the network, or perhaps maybe placed within a remediation VLAN, or maybe denied access entirely.
Great. Another question, which Jeremy, I see you answered in the thread, but let's maybe pose it publicly. We have offices in US, Asia, and Europe. Do you have infrastructure in those locations to ensure timely response to auth requests from our clients? And this is being asked on behalf of an attendee.
Yeah, so we have data centers in the United States as well as within Europe, but at this time we do not currently have any data centers in Asia. So we have plenty of customers who have locations in Asia, and they generally tend to prefer utilizing the European data center for their services. I'm not aware, I've never heard of any complaints or issues pertaining to latency. I will say that the requests we get predominantly for authentication are UDP based because they're Radius requests. And so latency is generally not an issue.
And a follow-up question. We would like to authenticate users to our Wi-Fi based on Azure Active Directory. Do you have integration that supports this? Absolutely.
And that's probably one of our most popular implementations. So that's usually where most people start, is with their wireless. A lot of customers who utilize Azure Active Directory utilize our solution because they're looking at a cloud-first approach to how they do things. And so those two things go naturally together. It's a very simple and straightforward implementation. From our product, you would enable and configure 802.1x on your devices. However, that, depending upon how your manufacturer does that, you point them at our SaaS-based cloud Radius servers. You define your policies, set up the repository for Azure Active Directory, set up your group mapping to define who gets on, who, and what to do with them, and that's about it. Should take I don't know, no more than an hour.
Awesome. There's another question. generally, how does setup for Portnox NAC as a service work? What are some of the early configuration and deployment stages or steps?
So usually the first place people start is in a proof of concept or a trial evaluation, call it whatever you will. What they'll do is they'll sign up for a trial on our website. Anyone can do that, and you get instantaneous access to your own tenant. You'll get credentials sent to you. You'll be given an email. You'll validate your account. You'll log in for the first time, and the first thing you do when you get in there, generally, is that you enable the cloud-based radio services in the geo of your preference. And from there, you probably go and configure your devices for 802.1x, probably a sample device in a lab or something to that effect, whether that be wired or wireless. You would set up your authentication directory. If you don't have a directory or don't want to use one for a proof of concept or evaluation purposes, we do provide our own directory within the product, so you can create your own accounts and authenticate to the network, utilizing those accounts as well. And you would take those accounts, you'd assign them to a group, and within the group, you define what policies, if you created any policies, would it be applicable to the users of that particular group. Like I said, it's a very simple, straightforward process. We have a little help balloon in the bottom right-hand corner of the product that says help. If you ever run into any issues or you're not sure what to do next, just click on the help bubble, and it will walk you through the entire process from beginning to end.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate too, we do have a trial of the product, so it's self-service. Anyone can sign in and create an instance to start to test out the platform, and there is a self-service essentially walkthrough and tutorial for the early configuration and deployment steps. We do have a couple more questions that came through. How do network devices communicate to your devices? Do we need a direct link or a VPN?
The direct link. So basically, this is just information sent over the internet directly. There's no setup of a VPN necessary or required here. If you do have specific concerns over packet security or something to that effect, you can enable RadSec. Our services do support RadSec if your devices support them, and that essentially negates the need for any type of VPN tunnel.
Great. We have one final question here. We have a mining customer. Can we use Portnox NAC as a service for their manufactured machines to connect to the network? So I assume that's IoT based, or
it's OT, IT, IoT, etc. So yeah, that's not a very uncommon request. We have a lot of customers who have a lot of OT or IoT related devices that they want to get connected to their network in a secure fashion. Those are absolutely supported. It's very simple and straightforward to do so.
Wonderful. Well, that concludes the questions from our attendees here. We can still reply to people that have posted some things here in the thread. But I just want to reiterate, if you're interested in testing out the product, seeing it in action, you can either request a demo through our website at portnox.com and connect yourself with a salesperson and a sales engineer to do a deep dive into the product and understand what the configuration and deployment looks like. Or again, you can take the self-service route and sign up for a free trial that lasts 30 days, and it gives you access to the full functionality of NAC as a service, our enterprise edition. With that said, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. We are going to wrap up today's webinar. Should you have any questions, feel free to continue to post in the question thread, and we will do our best to get back to you. And enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you very much.